other people are experiencing your silence more than your contribution to the meeting. So there is a perception that builds from a stakeholder point of view that maybe she's not confident, maybe she's shy, maybe she's not leadership material.
They are quiet, they are not very much out there, they are not very outspoken, they are less. I think we are going to burst that myth today.
Most women, they don't raise their hand unless they feel they are 100% ready. As compared to men, even if they believe they are not 100% ready, they still raise up their hand for their. I just said, how will you build relationship? You don't smoke, you don't drink chai, coffee. How will you build relationship in your name in the rooms you are not in?
Namaskar. Welcome to She Thrive. Before we begin this episode, I have a small request to make. Please subscribe to this channel. She Thrive is not just a podcast. It is a voice of every woman that need to be heard. And I'm so glad to be connected with wonderful and powerful women of today's era who are sharing their amazing stories with us. And to spread those stories with everyone, we need your support. So let's dive into today's session. So, have you ever thought, what if being quiet was where every woman share? This discussion that I'm going to have today is about achievements. It's about and I'm absolutely honored for that. And my name is Prerna, founder of Thrive Edge, an organization which is built with a vision to make workplace worth living. Today, the guest is very special for me because she's a who has spent more than 2 decades leading HR. So today, conversation it is very close to my heart, quite to quite around a powerful that you don't have to become louder to become a powerful. CEOs, senior leadership teams, led HR transformations, build people strategies, and also coached leader along the way. She noticed something that deserves far more conversation. So I would like to invite Jayita in my today's podcast. Hi Jayita, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
Same here, likewise. How are you doing today?
Saturday evening, busy Saturday, all good. Thank you.
Lovely, wonderful. So I just gone through everything that you have shared and about your organization specifically, quite to quite. This name itself is very intriguing, and when I actually first read about it, I was thinking for a couple of minutes, what does this really mean? Coming from a woman who is into leadership space, this sounds really interesting. So we will definitely talk in length about. Before we really delve into our discussion today, and definitely we are going to talk in length about quiet to quiet, I just want to know who is Jaita? How is that girl 10 years before
Who's
and today that we are talking to?
Okay. Thank you for this lovely question. Who's Joyita? That's a wonderful way to begin with. Well, I'm someone who is a small town girl by heart, even today. I come from a very, very small town in Assam, which is the eastern part of our country. Moving from there and moving my way to Bangalore has been quite a journey. As an individual, been someone who has always big dreams of becoming independent. At that point in time, even 10 years ago, did I really mean what I really meant by independent? I always wanted to be doing things on my own, travel the world, do things on my own terms. But as I started to move forward from Assam to Bangalore and then my corporate roles, thanks for this wonderful introduction that also helped me to go in various countries in Asia, Europe, Americas, across the world, leading global roles, I have realized one thing, that as a person, I have been born with certain talents, certain strengths. I have honed them as with the time. And there are certain aspects of my life that I felt 10 years ago, especially, that needed to be fixed. And that element of my personality was being an introverted woman, and especially in HR, because everybody believed in HR you need to be the social butterfly, if I can say that, which is definitely not the truth. But there was a general belief that you need to be friendly, you need to socialize, you need to be out there everywhere. I was quite the opposite one. I was an introverted one. And 10 years ago is what I felt that I needed to fix that. Now, 10 years
Quite
later,
interesting.
I truly have come across my journey wherein I truly believe that this is not an area to be fixed. This is a strength of mine, and this is what I need to amplify and make
Lovely.
the world see the aspect that comes with introverted leadership, and thereafter what I've been talking about, quiet leadership. And that's exactly why Quiet to Quiet has been formed. This is, in a way, is my own personal journey. So 10 years now, you're coming back to your question, a founder of Quiet to Quiet, a leadership coach for quiet and introverted mid-career women especially, because this is where the whole confusion starts. Early in
Right.
career, everything happens in a very nice way. You work hard, you get into that role. But when you move to the mid-career, this is where the equation changes, confusion starts, people start asking questions, and especially women, they start to doubt themselves that, do I really need to change something? I'm good at my
Yeah.
work, so why am I not really progressing? So that's
Right.
really why Quiet to Quiet is here today to help all the quiet and introverted and mid-career women.
Lovely. And especially when you said, a quiet introverted leadership. I'm not going to forget this, Joyita. I mean, this is really interesting and powerful. And also taking a hint from your own journey when you said that you were an introvert at some point in time, but then you realize that's not your weakness, that's your strength, and we need to kind of embrace it. So lovely. I'm sure that this session is going to be power packed, and especially for those women who think that they are quiet, they are not very much out there, they are not very outspoken, they are less. I think we are going to burst that myth today, isn't it? Lovely. I'm really happy
Thank
and
you for
excited
saying
and
this.
looking forward to.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm sure, because you have spent already like 2 decades in HR. Then you happen to leave the corporate. You decided to move out of the system and build this entire initiative of your own, quite to quite. What made you take that decision? Why you had to come out of the system to do that? And what was the thought behind this entire initiative?
It has not been a sudden decision, Prerna. This is something I've been quietly planning and building over last 4 years alongside my corporate role. I saw the same pattern repeat for years in senior HR rooms. Being in HR leadership roles, I have part of various interviews, those closed doors where the decisions are happening, the promotion discussion, the succession discussion, anything that you talk about which involves career growth. And I have seen how quite professionals, and here I would not really distinguish between men and women, generally the quiet professional getting missed, not because of lack of capability, but because of lack of visibility. And this becomes more stronger when it comes to women. I could not unsee it, and honestly, I couldn't even fully fix it inside from one organization. However, sitting on in those leadership roles, and me being, I mean, you mentioned I were an introvert. I'm still an introvert by nature. It really used to feel me. It really used to feel really bad. Like it's they're wonderful, talented people out there. It's just that nobody has told them that the rules have changed, the evaluation criteria has changed. Now, your performance, your technical capabilities is not what alone is going to take you there. And that's why I started quietly. In last 4 years, I've been doing research. I have been connecting with a lot of women out there to understand what are their real problems, the challenges, why not. And that's where, so this is personal. This is absolutely just not a professional approach for me to deal with this, an introvert myself, so it comes with lived experience. All the things today that I coach or I teach or I mentor are not borrowed from any textbooks. These are my own lived experience behind those doors that I have seen, the raw languages from leaders across the continents that I have heard. So this
Hmm.
is not a business that I just picked it up from the shelf. This has been like a dream that I'm currently living and helping individuals and especially the women.
Lovely, brilliant. And this was required. This is required, very much required. So, congratulations to you for doing this, Joyita. You
Thank
said you
you.
have seen a lot, you have observed very minutely, you've studied also every particular behavior. Would you want to specifically mention one or two? Like, what did you see that hit you? Maybe one or two examples or something that you can like tell from your experience or the colleagues that you had around you.
So it works both ways. I will first tell from the women's point of view. There is a mindset that I have noticed across everywhere that I have spoken to, or even in my clients right now. They believe their work will speak for themselves. And honestly, it did. From early career, work does speak for themselves. So till such time it worked. But in mid-career and beyond, all of a sudden the role changed. And nobody really told them. All of a sudden they start getting feedback like you need to be strategic, you need to speak up more, you need to be more collaborative. Those becomes very confusing. So from a women's point of view, the more and more they get such feedback, instead of really understanding what really do they mean by that, they put their heart and soul in working more, working harder, delivering more. But that's not what the feedback is all about. So that's mostly from the women's side that I have been noticing. Now from organization side, fair enough also, right? Like in a meeting, most of the quieter or the introverted ones, they only speak in meetings when they feel they can really add value to it. They don't really feel the need or urge to just fill in the airtime, that they just need to be on the spotlight. They don't
Yeah,
really have those
right,
inherent need. So they speak up only when they feel they need to be, they are adding some value.
right.
Now, this is in their thoughts. They don't really communicate that. But what's happening
Hmm.
when you go for such meetings again and again? Other people are experiencing your silence more than your contribution to the meeting. So there
Hmm.
is a perception that builds from a stakeholder point of view that maybe she's not confident, maybe she's shy, maybe she's not leadership material, the lingo that we often use in corporate. So
Hmm.
it works both the ways, right? So this
Right.
is where I also talk about the leadership perception plays a big role. So
Hmm.
it's kind of going in parallel. So the women, the quieter one, really need to understand how to amplify their strengths, how to show their thinking. And also from an organization point of view, they need to be also really be inclusive in terms of the leadership. There are many progressive organizations who are now really changing the way they are operating. They are also giving opportunities for the people who don't really often speak in the meetings. But majority of the companies, they are still following the stereotype. The ones who raise their hand, they get picked up first.
Do you think that these are being picked, the leadership roles, especially, because we know that unfortunately it has across different industries all over the world, we are hardly reaching 30%, and especially if you talk about this IT, corporate, etc., we are far behind that, like somewhere around 12 to 15% when it comes to women leadership. Do you think it happens by chance or strategically? Like, where is it failing? Why are we still like so behind when it comes to women leadership? Is there a way, a pattern that you would have probably realized, or what do you think? What is the problem that we need
In
to address?
overall, if I say the women leadership, of course, the percentage that you mentioned, it varies from industry to industry. I have also seen the industries like my first last company was a staffing company. It was the other way around. We had 50 to 60% of women leadership, and the diversity there was about men and not women. But majority of the industry is what you are talking about. Trends are changing. However, what I'm noticing in most organizations, what's happening is that they suddenly realize at the top that they do not really have the right mix. That's when they try to fix it by either hiring or putting some kind of an acceleration program and putting in there. However, from my experience, I have seen the gap starts much earlier. It's when people move from, especially women are moving from early career to mid career, and it's also to do with our cycle, the life cycle. This is where typically the women at the mid career, when they are at their 30s, this is where life happens. They get married, they have kids, their responsibility increases. So as a result of that, there is already a drop in percentage because it becomes very difficult to manage both the side of it. And then on top of it, yes, we do have a lot of nice programs in many companies wherein they support women in such phases. However, saying that it's not really across the board, it's only the compliance related bit that is present today in most organizations. So the gap starts to begin right from the mid career. They are not really getting that kind of, I would say, one right feedback in how they really need to move forward. It's not really only the performance. They are now getting to evaluate based on the other factors that they are coming, because your performance at mid career, based on my experience, I have seen it only becomes 20% of it. Rest all starts to become how you manage your ecosystem, how you are managing your relationship with your manager, your skip level, the relationship that you are building, whether you're really building sponsorship along the way, how are you managing workplace dynamics. So there are so many layers that gets
Yeah,
added up which are
of
not
course.
really said out loud.
Right.
It is left to
And they're
interpretation for
quietly
many
building
women.
over the period of time.
Yes.
If I can pick from you, these things are quietly piling up and they show suddenly at the top, you know? Okay, wonderful, lovely.
Yeah. So
So
that's where
you have,
I'm,
hmm,
in my opinion, that's where it all starts to
yeah,
happen.
piling up. Yeah. Yeah. So do men and women leadership are perceived differently by any chance as per your understanding or the conversations that you have? Or is it purely perception gap?
Could you elaborate that question?
Yeah. So basically what I'm trying to in the global HR role, men and women approach leadership, is it something that has to do with being men, being women, or it is purely perceptional gap which is reflecting on leadership today?
I wouldn't completely dismiss if the agenda does not play a role. I wouldn't really dismiss that completely. However, I definitely see it's a perception that plays a role largely. It's not only the gender that comes into the picture and why women don't get it. That's not the reason everywhere. And as I said, it does play a role in some areas, but mostly it's the perception. And it's mostly about how women are showing up in their leadership roles. So it's both, it goes both hand in hand. And perception, it's perception is nothing but what I'm demonstrating and what people are taking that narration out of my demonstration on everyday behavior. So I'm sure you would know it's a very, very popular example, and there is a research behind it. If there is a job role that opens up, most women, they don't raise their hand unless they feel they are 100% ready. As compared to men, even if they believe they are not 100% ready, they still raise up their hand for their role. Now, from an organization point of view, when you raise your hand, it's easier because you are noticeable. So they get picked up. So
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
is in both ways that works. And of course, leadership perception plays a big, big role. And also, most often, is your sponsorship within the organization plays a big role, which is not
Yeah.
again said out loud. Is, do you have a sponsor in the organization who is backing you up, who is promoting your name in behind those rooms? So that's where many women I see, they don't intentionally spend time and invest their time in building sponsorship as compared to men.
Hmm. Right. So coming back to you, where it all started, what was the moment and what was the urge when you stopped trying to become an extrovert and instead of you thought that, okay, enough? Because I'm sure that at some point in time we feel, right, that, okay, we need to change. Maybe we are less, maybe there's a problem. But what was that moment when you thought, no, enough, there's no problem with me. I need to fix the system or something. So when was that moment?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking this. And the reason I'm smiling now is because it took me back in those moments when I used to feel what I used to feel. So let me tell you, it's not that I realized or I discovered this just one day. I tried to fit in the mold. I tried to become the extrovert, which was absolutely in contrast of my natural self. I tried to speak up more. Like, I used to go in a meeting and I used to think, okay, now should I speak? Now should I speak? If I should speak, what should I speak? So the whole, the focus wasn't speaking, not so much as what is happening in the meeting. Then trying to be socialized, like the typical way of socializing, how it would happen. I still remember, I would deviate a bit here. My first lesson for networking, I remember when I just started as an HR business partner in a factory. One of the factory managers said, and it was a male dominated industry, 90% were male colleagues. So one of my factory managers said, how will you build relationship? You don't smoke, you don't drink chai, coffee. How will you build relationship because you're not really, I was never used to join them on those, their smoke break or their chai break. I tried to do all of it, not started smoking, but then try to go there when they are having their break, do that. And then after a point, and I think after quite some months, and I wouldn't be wrong if it was a year, I used to feel exhausted. I used to come home and not feel like talking to anybody at home. I used to be completely drained out. And I started to notice that I became quite irritated as a person. Like, when it was never shown in the professional world, but in the personal side of it, I started to feel that I'm not the same person who's like generally happy and content with what's happening. It used to be quite a lot of irritation. And then I started questioning, did I even join the right role? For me, honestly, Prerna, it was not so much about at that point in time time, whether it was introverted or not, I felt maybe I chose the wrong profession. Maybe I was not meant for HR, because if this is what it is required for an HR to do all of this, then maybe I'm not in the wrong, maybe I'm in the wrong profession. So I started questioning that. So it took quite a lot. And I'm so grateful for some of my mentors, my seniors at that point in time. I reached out to them, and they were the one who showed me that there is nothing wrong with me. It is a very stereotype way of how people perceive how an HR should be in an organization. Focus on the outcome, what they are looking at, and then find out your own ways to reach that outcome. Don't copy the process, focus on the outcome. Now, that particular advice from one of the mentors changed my life. That's when I started to focus on, okay, I'm doing that. I need to connect with people. I don't have to go and join them during their smoke break or during their chai break. I can still do it in my own way. So I figured out my own way. It took some time. Today I have name for all of those. Those days I did not have name for all of this. These were those experiences, feelings that I was going through it. So yes, so those were the defining moments for me that really gave me the experience in a harder way and made me the person I am today. And I'm so glad today I'm been able to name those and bring those learnings, like me and like several other colleagues of mine that I have seen, into what I'm doing today in coaching with women.
Lovely. And I mean, something that you said, I'm sure if we sit and think on this, so we'll be able to understand that let's focus on outcomes, you know. At the end of the day, the goal is connection, building network. It never said that you go on
Yeah.
those breaks or moments where you don't feel like yourself. You know, everybody has a unique personality. Lovely. Thank you so much, Jaida. This was really wonderful. And I now know that why you're talking, this is imprinting. So why, so basically, first of all, for my viewers, if you can explain what this interpretation gap really means and how do women get trapped into this?
Sorry, I lost you in between. Did you ask how this interpretation gap works?
Yes, yes. So my question is this only, that you had mentioned about interpretation gap, right? So if you can explain this for my viewers, how, what this interpretation gap really means and how do women get trapped into this?
Okay, but thank you for asking this question. So this is something that I work with all my clients now. Is I call it as a promotion perception gap. So if your ultimate objective is career growth, promotion, how does this perception gap come into the picture? So there are 4 P's to it that I say. The first P is proof. And what do I mean by proof is, as a professional, what evidence of work and results that you are showing today. Now, what I really mean by that, now, what I've noticed, the language often the women, especially women here, they use. For example, if they have to go and talk about that they have completed a task that has been given to them, the language mostly is like, I have completed the task. Now, when you say something like, I've just completed the task, it makes you sound transactional. A work has been given to you and you have delivered. However, if you step back and just also mention that while you are completing the task, what have you noticed? What pattern have you recognized? What trend are you noticing? Is it something that's going to help the departmental goal or the objective that you are working on? Or is it going to deter? Connecting them to the larger picture is something that I see is missing, not in their thought process, but the language that they use. The second P, I call it as perspective. Now, this is again linked to the proof. It's like, just don't report your activities or your work. Show your thinking. One of the best example on this morning itself, I was sharing this with another coachee of mine, is she's from the risk analysis department, and she has done a lot of analysis. And when she just presented the outcome in 4 words, and that's it. She did not really showcase all the work that has really gone in while she has arrived at that particular outcome, what thought process she chose, why she chose option A over option B, and why she has come up with the option B as a recommendation. Now, these things are typically missing when most women, they talk about it. So they, as a leader, everybody wanted to hear, especially at a mid-career and beyond, they wanted to hear your perspective. And this is what that will make you differentiate from your other colleagues as well. What is the uniqueness? What is your own perspective, your own thinking that's coming up?
Yeah, absolutely.
The third P, I call it as presence. Now, that is about your leadership signal, clarity, steadiness, credibility, all of it. And the last one, Prerna, I call it as proximity, access to influence. who knows you, who trusts you, who can mention your name in the rooms you are not in. So this is what I call it as promotion perception gap.
Lovely, wonderful. Because that reminds me a conversation I was having with a group of people, and I simply asked them, if you have to find a job or you look for job switch, what do you do? And the females, they said, we do choose different platforms, blah blah blah, and we do this all through the processes, etc., etc. And then a man was very quiet. I asked him, what do you do? And he simply said, I call my friends and I first tell them that, hey, I'm looking for a change. you know so yeah, I mean, they simply first leverage that they take is network, and we believe in processes for longer time,
Yeah,
which
that's one of the differentiation, and I'm glad you're sharing this example from your own. As I mentioned earlier, the moment a women hear that they need to do better, the first thing that I've seen most women doing is work hard. They are working on weekends, they are working late nights, but they are not really putting their effort in building relationship. They think networking is optional if they are performing. Now I understand, as I said, it is also the life stage of women, right? Because you have, like most men, and I'm not trying to generalize, but most women, they have to go back to their home, do their domestic chores. If you have their children, they need to take care. So there is a reason why maybe most women, even if they don't want to do networking, they don't do it. But we need to do that because that's important. So that's what I always tell, that even within your 9 to 6 p.m., take out 20% of your time on at least in a week, how you can build your visibility. You cannot go and step out for a networking event, have a virtual coffee meeting with someone who's going to make a difference.
right. And I remember that our first interaction was
Yeah.
something like that, and I think we are also kind of navigating the same phase of our life. But right, I mean, as you said, that you have to take that effort. Maybe your effort is not as huge as probably the other person who is rather more free, but yes, one step at a time never harms. So just one point that I'm picking from your answer right now. You said family. And I think we cannot deny this fact that given the Indian society and dynamics, and internationally rather, I would say that women are being considered as a primary caregiver most of the time, and which also creates this mid-career crisis, because by the time they get trapped into families and weddings and children's and all of those things, which is a friction for them, of course, to reach there. So, any experiences around that? Maybe any of your clients' experiences, or how do you tell your clients about it, or simply your own experience around these things? What's your take on this?
We all have this kind of challenges. Now, what I really help my clients that I work with is I tell them very clearly, while we are working, my expectation is not that I'm going to give you or ask you to do things outside of your office. If your office timing is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm not going to ask you that you stretch till 7 p.m., 8 p.m. and do something, because I know it's not going to be feasible, and it kind of overstresses them. Now, what is happening, Prerna, is that within that 9 to 6 p.m., I'm just taking the time range just for our discussion point, most women, whether it is quieter or not, most women, they focus 100% on delivery, 9 to 6 p.m. And the quieter ones, 100% of them, they only focus on delivery, 9 to 6 p.m. Lunchtime, they would prefer having the lunch at their desk to complete the work they need to complete. So it's the mindset. So in order to build that kind of a visibility, in order to build that kind of a sponsorship or the influence that is required, I tell them from that 9 to 6 p.m. on a week, at least take out 5% to begin with on how you are showcasing your work. There is another element that comes into the picture is self-promotion also. They feel that, and it's more of an Asian and mostly Indian phenomena wherein we were told not to brag about our work. So it's not so much about bragging, it's about making sure that you are talking about your work, what you have done to the people. Otherwise, everybody's busy. I mean, if we think that our managers will remember everything that we do, our manager have many other people like me who are doing that. To answer your question, what I really tell, and that really helps a lot of my coaches, is I help them to find out the low stakes at the beginning of, so that they also start building up muscles. For example, speaking up more in meetings. How do you do that? that you need to do it in the office. You cannot do it outside your office work. So start taking 5% and gradually make it to 20% when you build that muscle for intentional visibility strategies, navigating workplace, because it's not a theory anymore, right? You need to have people around you to practice all of
Right.
them. So it is
Yeah.
nothing outside the office. So even if you are working, I mean, you have responsibilities at home that you need to take care of. You don't really have to disturb that side of your life. But within that 9 to 6 p.m., got to be intentional about it.
So one question, slightly deviating from this topic of typically leadership, just women in corporate, if we talk about, or women in general. I mean, forget about corporate, women in general. There are two narratives. When I talk to people, other people also about it, that wanting to have it all. There are clearly two distinctions about it in women's ambitious, educated, ambitious women, especially. One is it's not realistic and should not have because that leads to mental stress. So no. One is why not? What does Jaita think about it?
I lost you completely. I'm sorry, but couldn't hear you at
Yeah,
all.
no worries. Okay, so I'll just repeat my question. So there is one common perception among educated, ambitious women. There are two things. Getting it all has two perception. One section says no because it affects your mental health, and second says why not. What does you think, Jaita, about it? Having it all.
From person to person in one's value, right? What they do, what really they value, and what is absolutely non-negotiable for them. So I don't think there is one answer that can fit all. But yes, I have seen that it's like two extremes, right? It's like I have to get it at any cost, and it's okay. I have to prioritize. So it's absolutely okay what one wants to do it. I was at that spectrum. I wanted. I was very ambitious, hardworking, wanted to get everything for myself. But what I have noticed by doing that, Prerna, is, and that's completely my own story, is that I completely burnt out. I had no weekends. I remember for almost 4 to 5 years of my career, I was doing good. I was holding a global role. The role also expected me to work in different time zones. And I couldn't really maintain a healthy boundary for myself. I had absolutely no weekend, as I mentioned. I used to work late night. I remember I often have fallen sick, but even during that time, it was, now again, I have a word for it. Those days I did not have a word for it. It's absolutely the fear of missing out. It's
Yeah.
like if I go absent, what's gonna happen? What am I gonna miss? Will this opportunity will go to somebody else? All those bit, and that did not really serve me well personally, because it really impacted my health in big ways. So to answer your question, it's an individual's choice which way they want to go, but I think balancing your mental and physical health along this journey is so important, and I wish I had this wisdom when I did not follow this and just worked because of sheer FOMO, and that should not be the leading factor.
Yes, yes, yes. I can relate to you, of course, at some point in, but that is also a shoot of ambition. But then, yeah, we realize as we proceed, we realize that we have to do some sort of trade-offs. We have to choose and prioritize. I'm loving it the way this conversation is heading, and I'm sure there are a lot of important things that will bring in confidence in quite a women who are hearing this today, and there are ample of them. So women often struggle with that invisible self-doubt also, because I was actually thinking about it today. We do something and then we tend to explain it multiple times, you know, perhaps out of self-doubt. Yeah. How does that affect their positioning? How does it affect them as an individual and of course women leadership if we talk about?
It affects in a big way that we often don't really realize, and often question ourselves, why did I not get that opportunity, or why somebody else was picked up for the presentation or for the global opportunity. Now again, this is where perception comes into the picture, right? So one is, of course, I'm self-doubting myself. Now that's a area wherein one need to really work on yourself. In coaching, there are various ways how we work on that. The other is like, one of the simplest way I always ask my coaches, I ask them to get a pen and paper, divide the paper in two parts, write facts on the top of your one of the feelings. Now, whatever you're feeling, I'm not good enough, this, that, I just ask them to write all the feelings that's coming up. And then I ask them to write, tell me the fact I'm not good enough. What fact, what evidence do you have to say that I'm not good enough? And I have seen women crying, laughing after doing this exercise because most of them, they realize that 85 to 90% is all in our head. It's on our own inner voice. And some of the things also come up. That's how we have seen our mothers doing. This is how we have seen our societies expecting of women to do it. Especially with mothers, the guilt factor of leaving their child at the same time managing their own career. At a surface, at a deep level, they know this is not something wrong, they're doing their best, but there's so much of an expectation that they need to be the super women, and then they feel that, okay, I'm not good enough at my work, I'm not good enough in my family, I'm just not the right, or probably, I'm not sure what word should I say, but then it is quite an overwhelming exercise that I do it for self-doubt. It's one of the tools that I use in my coaching. So to coming back to your questions, Prerna, self-doubt is something we all need to be intentional about working, especially when we realize that it's not really serving us well, or any feelings or any emotions for that matter. If it is not serving us well, that's the indication that we need help. And there is nothing wrong in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And asking for help is normalizing, and it should even more normalize. It's just a matter of, I mean, some sort of understanding within your heart that yes, it's okay. I think it's more of our created. And if you kind of have a little more let go feeling, I think it becomes a little more easier to ask for help. Being a
Something
woman,
that
I
I'm
can definitely.
really loving nowadays is those communities everywhere. They have a lot of
Yeah.
those small women communities.
Yes.
And of course, I have a smaller, very intentional community for my quieter women. I noticed that women really find strengths from there. And I'm part of such community. When the days I am doubting myself, I have such lovely women. I just tell them that today I'm not really feeling myself. And then there are so many stories out there. Sometimes you don't really even have to talk about what's really going on inside, but you hear other people that gives you motivation and that rigor that yes, I need to get back to my own life. So I think asking for being part of such communities, it's a really a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because women standing for women is important and that's happening. Absolutely. I would also vouch for that. It's very much out there and it should be. So looking back, from your own career, perhaps what leadership advice that you believed in, but now you will not give to your clients also, or anybody, even any family member that you would not give now.
Yeah, I'm smiling because there are quite a many. The one that I will pick up is working hard. Yes, you need to work hard, but that's not the only way to success, especially in the corporate organization. Working hard is only the baseline. That has to be layered with several other nuances that we have been talking about: visibility, influence, positioning. Those does not really require you to work hard. Those requires you to work smarter.
Wonderful. Yes. So now we know that. Lovely. Moving a little outside of your workspace, uh, you know, what are some of the people around you, basically? Whatever perception or information or knowledge that they have about you, is there something that you would like to share and that would probably surprise them? That, okay, I didn't knew this about Jaita.
Me, is it within work or outside work?
Outside your work?
Sorry, outside?
Yeah, outside of your work.
Yeah, not many people would know that I am fixated with collecting journals. Like, if you give me a choice to go for shopping for accessories, clothes, anything, and versus I have the same time to go and buy journals, I go and buy and pick up journals. So I have like tons of journals from across countries, across India's. I love journaling and love collecting them.
Lovely. Journals are also very helpful, very reflective and soothing also. How do you suggest women who are hearing this that it can help them as well? Maybe some of them don't even know that.
So for me, journaling helps because even in today's time wherein AI has pretty much taken over our life, when I'm creating some program or I'm thinking, I actually go back to my pen and paper. I really cannot think unless I write. When I write, things become very clear to me. And some of the exercises that I always ask my coaches to do it is never type on their laptop. I always ask them to go pen and paper. There are various research, I don't really have to mention that when you write, you process better. And when it comes to journaling, to answer your question, many a times when I'm confused, when I don't have clarity, or even in my happy state, especially when not in so much of a happy state, when I journal, a lot of things get cleared, a lot of clarity that I get. So yeah, journaling really helps. I'm sure there are various ways, people have their own ways to figure out what really works for them. But if someone who's listening to us, they really believe in writing and have seen that writing helps, journaling does help. So it depends on them whether they want to do it weekly, daily. But for me, writing and processing my thoughts and clarity has been a big, big game changer right from my childhood days.
Lovely. Wonderful. In fact, so to say, I'm also building that habit, and I feel that it helped, And why I'm sharing this again, just to validate what you're saying, because I very recently, like, started onto this process, and yes, penning down gives your brain to process and also eventually build. So as you write, you repeat certain patterns, and some clarity becomes obvious on your way. So finally, if you could go back and have a conversation with 25-year-old Jaita, what that conversation would be. I should have said 18.
What conversation I will have to 25 years old Shaita? Number one, believe in yourself, no matter what the situation. Believe in what you are doing, why you are doing. That's very, very important because that's where confidence comes in. Second is building an absolutely wonderful circle around you. Have 5 to 6 core people within your environment, not the similar ones, the ones who can challenge you, the ones who can question you, who can give feedback at every stage. 25 years of, like, before the version of me, I would definitely say that I did not do it at that point in time, is to invest in the right set of people within yourself. And those people changes from stage to stage, they change, and which is okay, to learn from them and to be surrounded with themselves. The third would be health. Never ever compromise on health, and especially mental health, because this is something even today all of us get very particular about physical health because it shows in the way we look and how we perform, but mental health is so important, so never shy away taking help when it is required. So I think these are the three things I will tell my younger self.
Wonderful.
And if I can add a
So,
fourth one, that has
yeah,
been my mantra of my life: invest in yourself. That's very, very important. Invest in yourself to bring out the best version of yourself at any stage of your life.
yeah, lovely, wonderful. And this is not only for you, but the girls who are hearing this out, start talking, to yourself and start loving yourself. So we are moving towards the end of it. So very quickly, short, rapid fire that I have planned for you, a sweet little surprise. So I'll just ask very quick questions, and I would expect one word answer from you. So
Okay.
ready whenever you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
sounds fun.
All right, lovely. All right. So, morning person or a night owl?
Night owl.
Journal or laptop?
Journal.
Tea or coffee?
Neither. Don't drink neither of it.
Okay. One leadership book that every woman should read.
The executive presence.
One word that defines leadership for you.
Authenticity.
Introvert or extrovert? Which has the biggest advantage today?
I think both has its advantage. They need to know how to use it, how to leverage it.
One habit you never skip.
My morning rituals, getting up,
Okay.
and it's like 5 minutes of time just for myself.
All right. And complete the sentence. So, a woman becomes unstoppable when?
When they believe in themselves.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jaida. That was very quick and sharp and relevant. So finally, I'll just wrap up with this question that if any woman who is listening this today, and what one message would you want them to remember and take away from this conversation?
If you have to ask me one, or can I give more than one? So, but
Your choice.
the first one, yeah, so the first one that I will definitely tell them is invest in yourself. That's very, very important. Things are changing. The corporate life is changing. The expectations from all the professionals are changing with AI and all the other landscape that's been happening, especially for my quieter audience. this quiet leadership is not something that is still getting embraced in a many ways. So it's so important that you invest in yourself so that you can amplify your own strengths, which can really work for yourself and not really against that. So if, like, since Prerna, you have asked me only one, the one would be invest in yourself. Never shy
Wonderful.
away from doing that.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed today's conversation. I'm sure the people who are listening this, they will have a lot of different uh, and unique insights from this conversation today. We had break a lot of stereotypes, and this was a whole conversation around breaking these stereotypes and breaking the myths around leadership and women, and then the quieter women. Wonderful, very power-packed interaction it was. Thank you so much for giving this time to me for this conversation today. I know you're extremely busy, and I want you to be busy. Keep engaged in your life, and yes, the busier we are, the better it is. But of course, take care of your health. And thank you so much for everyone who is watching here. And I would request you once again before we wrap up, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that more such wonderful stories and conversations can come your way. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much, Jaita, for being here.
Thank you, Prerna. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.